from down here up north and in between. But baby, it's a shame, 'cause I always feel the same when I can't see Texas from here.
The king of country music, George Strait, comes to AT&T Stadium on Saturday night for the final show in his Cowboy Rides Away tour. But Shirley Jenkins, you saw him when he was just a calf roper, right, Shirley?
Pretty much, yes.
Now, how long ago was that? What did you think of him when you first heard George Strait sing?
Well, it was in the 1970s, and it was back in San Angelo, Texas, and it was during the time that I was in college and he was in college. And I remember walking through an arena at either a college rodeo or the stock show. I don't really remember exactly, but it was there, and he was singing, and I remember walking through with a friend of mine, and we heard his name announced, and we walked through, and there's this young guy singing, and he was really great. And we said, oh man, that guy is good. And my friend looked, she was taller than I was, and she could see over the crowd, and she said, he looks good too.
He is the total package, right? He's a cowboy.
Yes.
He's got the looks.
Yes, he
the
does.
movie star looks, but he's got the voice and the chops to back it up, right?
Yes, he does.
And that's accounted for 60 number one hits, tons of gold albums, Country Music Hall of Fame.
That's right.
But he's never really been into all that stuff, has he?
No, not so much. He is all about the songs. He's all about the songs and all about the music. And he's a lot of the people that have been around during his career that have come up and gone down, and some are still here and some are not, come on with a real swagger and a real need to say, well, out here in Texas, we don't do it that way, and that type of thing. And George is never that way. He's always been very quiet. He doesn't talk a lot on stage. He never
hardly ever talks to the press, right?
Almost never talks to the press. Exactly. But when he's talking to the audience, he's not one to swagger. He doesn't tell his political beliefs. He's not, well, I'm from Texas, so, because he is. He doesn't have to talk.
He's the authentic deal.
He's the authentic deal and the real deal. And I think of his audience that the men respect him and wish they were like him. And the women wish they were too.
the women wish that
yes, that the men were too.
That the men were, yeah, exactly. Now, you've covered a lot of the biggest names in country music, Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, but they all had sort of an outlaw aspect to them. How did George kind of make do without that aspect to him? I mean, he's maybe doesn't have that sort of dangerous quality.
Well, that's right. And I think what has really meant all the difference is everyone in George's audience can look there, and instead of seeing an outlaw or kind of a dangerous character or someone you wouldn't really know that well, you look at George, that's your father, your boyfriend, your brother-in-law, guys you went to school with. You just innately know him. He's just so innately Texan.
Now, you've seen him many times. You were telling me earlier about it became kind of a New Year's Eve tradition to see him at Reunion Arena. What was that like?
Yes, he played Reunion Arena for several years, always on New Year's Eve. And always his wife Norma would come out and kiss him at the right time. And it was always just a big party, and there was comfort in the fact that it was done every year like that. You could count on it. And that's one of the things about George Strait. You've always been able to count on George Strait. Is he going to show up? Yes, he's going to show up.
He's not going to go on late. He's
no.
not going to go. He's not going to pull a diva fit necessarily.
No, he's not going to cuss in front of your kids or whatever. He's just really a reliable guy, and I guess he's comfortable with things like that too, of knowing, well, every New Year's Eve I'm going to play Reunion Arena in Dallas during those years.
But you can get sideways with George Strait. You told us a little story in the essay that's going to appear in DFW.com on Friday about a reporter who got the rare chance to interview George on his bus and was in and out pretty fast because a mistake that he made. Tell us about that.
Well, that was the story that was going around the set of when he was filming Pure Country. Mm-hmm. And we were
It's a movie from 1992.
1992, yes. And I don't know where the guy was from. I know a guy got on the bus before I did, and the story was, whoever the reporter was that went ahead of me, first off, was not from this area. This was a national press guy. Mm-hmm. And he came on, and he thought he would ingratiate himself to George by petting the dog. Mm-hmm. And the dog, he pets the dog, and he had done the names wrong. He had said the names wrong. He said that the dog was Bubba and that George's son was Buster. And George said, "No, my son is Bubba. The dog is Buster." And that's what got the guy thrown out.
He got shown the exit.
Yes, he got shown the exit. So when I got on the bus, I just petted the dog. I didn't say the name.
But it was a rare chance to actually get to interview George Strait in person and a little bit at length also.
Oh, yes. It was certainly the only time that I ever got to. I interviewed him maybe 3 or 4 times over the phone over those years. And but the only time I ever did in person was on that bus, and that would not have happened if that hadn't been for the movie.
He wasn't promoting the movie that was filmed in and around Fort Worth.
And he was there, and it was hard to get in there to talk to him even then. His wife Norma was in the bus with him, and she sat with him through the interview, and the dog was there. And I was really glad that she was there because she was pretty conversational, really. And
you were worried about some long pauses and silences with him?
Yes, I was. So it was really a comfort to me that she was there because it was a little easier to talk to him that way.
It's sort of odd to see somebody who's so sort of comfortable on stage in front of 20,000 people, but maybe not in the confines of his own tour bus with a reporter. That's
true. And another thing about him, when we were talking about the music, and that's what we were talking about, he was sort of not really, I wouldn't say confrontational, but he'd make his points, and he would do it in the form of a question. I talked about how everyone thinks about him as being very traditional, and he said, "Well, I've done a lot of songs that are not all that traditional." And I said, "Well, like what?" Well, he said, "Well, like The Chair. The Chair is not very traditional." And I said, "Well, it's definitely got a different twist." And he said, "Well, I would say nobody else has done that twist. Don't you think so?" And everything he would say like that was a little bit, he would end it with that, "Don't you think so?" And it would really put you on the spot.
Right.
I've not really had anyone do that. But then you'd say, "Well, yeah, true, it's a little different." And he talked about songs that he had done that people didn't want him to do. He said that Marina Del Rey, very beautiful song, that was brought to him, and it was a little different than some of the things he did, and he loved the song. Mm-hmm. And he was a little bit mad that it wasn't really brought to him right away to listen to. He said that because he had so much success with the Dean Dillon type of songs, that's all he was given to listen to very often, and he had to really look to find songs that were not like that.
Do you have a favorite George Strait song or two?
Somebody asked me that when I was walking in here, and it's so hard to say that.
Too many to choose from?
Yeah. I always loved that song that really got me the first time I saw him in an actual concert there at Billy Bob's, called I Can't See Texas From Here. And it was just the feeling for Texas in it really got to me, and I loved that. I loved Does Fort Worth Ever Cross Your Mind?
Right. Well, of course.
Yes. And a lot of his songs I've really liked. I've liked all of his songs. He can do a beautiful love ballad. He does a great version of The Fireman that all of his fans have always loved that.
So the show on Saturday night, George Strait actually helped open Cowboys Stadium back when it was called Cowboys Stadium in 2009. He was the first headliner at the stadium. Now it's called AT&T Stadium, and he's going to be doing what he's kind of dubbed his farewell to touring, that he won't be out on the circuit as much. So he's not retiring per se, 62 years old. He's not retiring from music, but you're not going to see him out doing arena tours anymore. And this is filled with celebrities, stars from the country music world paying tribute to him. Miranda Lambert, Vince Gill, who you don't see as much as I would like to see as much.
That's true.
Anymore. Alan Jackson, Kenny Chesney. Is this going to be sort of a show for the ages, or what do you?
I think so. I think we here in Texas will get the chance to see George around the state. Occasionally there will be a show here and there, I'm sure. And he has not ruled that out, and I think that's probably true. But they're not going to be these really big package arena tours. And really that may be, for country music, that really may be something that's not really as hot as it was in, say, the 90s, when you had so many people doing so many big tours.
Right. So that might be the real way to see George Strait. It's some small venue down near San Antonio, near where he lives.
I would love to do that. These may be the best of times, really, for people here in state who love him. And he has said he's not going to quit recording. And again, that goes back to what I said about how he feels about the song. He can't quit looking for songs, just like he can't really quit roping cattle or
if he's like
doing his fishing.
That's right. He's like a lot of other country musicians. He's got another good 20 years, like Willie and several of the other big names who continue to be relevant into their 70s and 80s.
That's true. But one has to appreciate, I think, I have seen acts that have come up and retired during the time I've been doing this. I've been doing this when Alabama came up, and then they retired. I saw the Judd's last show in this area. I've seen a lot of people's last show. And so it's not so much that way with him. I know Garth Brooks made quite a thing when he quit touring, and it was really a pretty calculated thing with him, and that's not I'm not really cutting him down, but there was this big, I'm quitting touring.
But a couple of years later, he's out playing Vegas.
Well, when I interviewed him when he was doing that, it was like, well, I'm quitting touring, but when my last daughter is out of high school, then I'm going to start touring again. And it's not going to be on the level it was. It's going to be whatever I can do at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what has happened. Garth has surfaced again now, and sure enough, that last daughter is out of school. So,
but that won't be the case for George Strait.
Well, no. George is a grandfather now,
right?
And that little grandson is getting up old enough now to be around the rodeo arenas and maybe go fishing and things like that.
So when the cowboy rides away, he's really going to ride away this time.
Yeah, but we'll see him come into town now and then.
All right. Well, it sounds good, Shirley. Thanks.
Thank you.
Just for